funds to Berkeley Heights based on federally mandated population counts. I'm afraid the allocation of funds will be politicized. The allocation of money should not be politicized. Title 6, Section 601, the Coronavirus Relief Fund allocates relief funds to states and units of local government facing revenue for shortfalls. Units of local government are supposed to be allocated their equitable share of the amounts allocated to the county if their local LGU or the county they're part of is under 500,000 in population. By my own estimates, reading the law, Berkeley Heights should be expecting around $2.7 million from the CARES Act, Title 6, Section 601. And here's another set of three questions. Who are the loan servicers that send in escrow taxes, and how much are we exposed to each of them? Are these services well capitalized like JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, etc.? If not, how big are our exposures in aggregate to weakly capitalized loan servicers? Just to let you know, the first mortgage banking servicer went bankrupt today. There's going to be a cascade of them. Who are the residents like me who pay taxes directly and not via escrow? How many have stable incomes, retirees with pensions and Social Security? How many have incomes compromised like me? Okay. What work has the township done to identify the likely shortfall of monies coming due to taxpayer financial distress? Again, these are individual property owners. Okay. When I followed up with an email to all members of, basically the town council, the mayor, and the administrator to say that we should have an appeal process now. Okay. And it's only now, as Angie said, that the state is saying that there needs to be documentation of financial duress. I said that 14 days ago, 13 days ago, or 12 days ago. Where are we there now? How come we haven't done that work yet?
Is that okay?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so it's a lot of information. I'm going to try to tackle most of them. As it relates to politicizing this issue, I have to tell you, I have been on a number of calls, lengthy calls, probably every day. And I have to say Union County is working very hard in a very bipartisan way. I can tell you that Senator Kane is on the calls every day. I think Assemblyman Bramnick's office, I know Assemblywoman Munoz is on, as well as the other legislators. And everyone is working very hard for the entire county. And I haven't seen it as sort of a partisan kind of thing. And look, we will work tirelessly with each other, and we are bipartisan in trying to do the very, very best that we can for the Berkeley Heights residents. And I feel like we certainly have done that. I think we will continue to do that. So as it relates to the three questions you asked, I'm going to try to read the information that I received from the CFO and from the tax collector to try to answer those questions. As it relates to number one, 42% of payments come through mortgage companies: Wells Fargo, Investors Bank, TD Bank, Columbia Bank, Bank of America, Glenrock Bank, Bank of America is on there twice, Union Savings Bank, Chase Bank, Haven Savings Bank, Spencer Bank, etc. Most of the banks deal with tax services like CoreLogic and Loretta LLC services for processing of tax payments. Number two, the municipality does not have any records on taxpayers' income. That's just, information we don't keep and probably not privy to. And number three, the federal government and state are the ones taking actions for the tax relief for the financial duress. Municipalities are limited to tax collection and to provide the services they're required to pay the school and to pay the county. But I'm going to go back and answer that personally. I think that over the last 2 weeks in particular, I think that we've looked very closely at the likely shortfalls and have made significant cuts to address the financial impact or potential impact of what we think is going to be the impact to the taxpayers. So I think hopefully that covers it.
Okay, next we have Tom Majeski, 40 Ralph Place. 1 second, Tom, hold on. Okay, you're unmuted, go ahead.
Am I good?
Yep, you're good.
All right, thanks. Hey, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to review this. It's really appreciated, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of people in the town that are hurting and the businesses that are hurting. And I know that you all have done some really hard work here. I know it's not easy and it's not business as usual. So I just want to say thank you ahead of that, ahead of the rest of the questions. So for the one issue that I have when I follow these budget meetings is that we don't get to see any kind of working copy of the budget, like where you're working on, where you see last year versus this year. I did go back and like revisit the entire, all the budget meetings that you had, and it was just difficult to follow because you're making references to the budget. I think for future budget meetings, it would be nice to be able to follow that. And I was hoping we would have a little bit more here where we can actually follow it. But overall, I think you did, you know, you've taken a lot of time and did a lot of work. But in the future, if we could see that earlier. And I was wondering, do you plan on releasing, or when do you plan on releasing the budget, like where you could see this year versus last year? Those type of comparisons.
Tom, did you see the docs that were in the article on the website about tonight's meeting that we added at 6:30?
I did. I didn't get to go through all of it. I saw changes between what you had there and what you have now. Is there also versus last year in there as well?
Yeah, it goes back a couple years.
The 16.
16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. There's a 5-year.
Okay, great. Then I didn't see it. It was only, I mean, it was put a half hour before, so I didn't really get a chance to fully go through it.
Yeah, sorry. We were making changes like
Yeah, I do.
up until pretty much the last minute today. So it was, yeah, we apologize for that. But
Okay.
yeah, and what it shows you is it'll show you what was actually budgeted that year from 2016 on, and then what the actual spent was in the appropriations doc.
That's great. And I would just, I did with, if you could do that in the future, just when you're going through the budget meetings, if you can release that, I know it's a, you know, a big help. So I just have a couple of questions real quick. What is the head count change? And what's the delta? And then what's also, do we have any changes as far as, are people leaving? I know that Tom's leaving. Did you hire, how many hires did you have versus how many people did you leave? And what's the change in head count total?
What's the next question, just so you can get them all out so they can answer, so we don't
Okay.
lose your time.
Yeah, for the capital spending, what was the total amount of capital spending and how much of that will be in new bonding? And then I have that we had a change order for the municipal building. I think it was like last meeting or the meeting before. There seemed to have some savings, but then I also saw quite a bit of new spending in that. I was wondering if you're going to continue to go forward with those change orders that we requested. I know they're not part of the savings, but you bundled them together. And then the last question is about the cap bank. Are you all planning on approving the cap bank this year, with taking into consideration everything that's going on? Those are all my questions.
Okay.
Oh,
Oops.
the planner budget and legal budget. If you have those numbers handy, that would be appreciated.
Okay, so the head count, we have Tom, who is retiring. And then as Liza mentioned, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, Tom, but I'm sure we can get her to maybe, Liza does know, the layoffs with the crossing guard, the bus driver, and I believe that's the only personnel changes.
There are roughly about 20 crossing guards. The bus driver was part-time.
The crossing guards are part-time too. The only full-time person right now is the director for the recreation that we took out for the rest of the year and are not replacing until next year.
Right. And we're not anticipating any new hiring in addition to that.
And then we took out summer help.
Right.
All the part-time help out.
So total capital spend, how much is in new bonding?
Yes. That was on the page that Eugenia was just reading off of.
And
Yeah.
it's in the capital budget that was posted in the website also.
Didn't we have a total number, or did we have the total cut? Is that the difference?
And yeah, let me bring up, I'm opening up the capital budget.
Just while you're opening that, I'm gonna skip to the question about planner and legal fees. I mean, what I wouldn't give to cut our budget for legal fees. It's literally like the bane of my existence, but unfortunately, it seems to be a necessary evil of sorts in this business. So having said that though, we have suspended work on the master plan because that is a really substantive amount of work that goes into that, and we just felt that at this time we're going to suspend that. Having said that, we do have a master plan section on our website up right now with the master plan documents to date, and it's a way to spend the next few months getting resident feedback. So that is up as a separate section of our website. So that's the status of that right now, but that is a big expense that we're putting on hold. And then, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to save some time and answer that question while you were looking for the answer to the capital spending and how much is in new bonding.
The capital budget that was at the meeting of 310 was $3,143,745. In the cuts, we just made $588,700 in cuts. That brings it down to $2,555,045. Out of that, they hopefully.
Can you repeat those numbers? Sorry, I was trying to talk about it.
It's right. If you want to look at the PDF file that was posted in the website for the capital budget, everything is right in there.
Okay. So this is for which one? For the capital spending?
For the capital budget for this year.
Okay. And how much is the new bond?
Okay, in that capital budget, there are some applications for some grants, and there's also $465,000 altogether. The mayor and council decided to go just with the very basic. They took away a lot of the equipment, like the sewer jet truck, and they cut down some of the equipment for the police. And that's where the cuts came, the $588,000. Right now, we are looking at, with that 2.5 million budget, we have $465,000 in grants. And so that will give us to go out to bond $1,985,543.
$1,985,000. So $2 million we're still bonding this year?
Yes, yes.
And what's the majority of that? I haven't had time. We only had a half hour to go through this, but that just seems like quite a bit of spending when we're spending less than $1 million every year just 3 years ago. And now we're up to 2 million and is a full cutback. Is that mostly roads?
That's the biggest number, I think.
It's primarily engineering, which is roads and drainage.
Are we still creating that fund, the $865,000 fund or whatever that is for the sewer? I'll have to go through it. I'll have to go through this. With the half hour, it was really not enough to get through this.
If you have other questions after you go through it more, if you want to email them to us, we can answer them that way too.
Well, how much time, when do you plan on passing this? Because I would like to get the questions in before this gets put through to be passed.
Got to be introduced first, Tom, before it can be passed.
I understand that. When do you plan on introducing it and passing it?
We haven't set the date yet.
We have until the end of the month to introduce.
Well, yeah, I mean, the state had extended the time period to April 28th, but I know that there's been a lot of conversations that municipalities want to sort of see what the tax collection period yields before introduction. So that's a conversation that has to still be had.
Okay.
The earliest would be April 28th, to answer your question.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, the next question we had from John Caglia. 22 Robbins. Hold on, John. Let me find you and unmute you.
Miss,
Oh,
you
you're
missed two
unmuted.
of my
Okay.
questions. You missed two of my questions.
Am I on?
Oh, 1 second, John.
Head count? Okay.
The taint. Oh, yeah, we
Cat
changed
bank.
it.
The municipal building and the for the cap bank.
Okay.
The municipal building's not part of this budget. That would be council, that's not this budget.
Where does that come from?
That's the current that's the cap budget already that we passed, and that we could talk about the next meeting.
Okay, but all right. So for that, because that money you're saying
That money was already committed.
it's already bonded for. So we're going to spend that no matter what, rather than take it off. Couldn't we, if we didn't spend it, apply it to this year's budget?
Doesn't work that way. And
No?
we haven't long-term bonded for that anyways yet, Tom. We've short-term financed and we haven't spent it all yet.
So there's another. Okay, so we have another almost $1 million in bonding from those change orders.
No,
No.
that we haven't exceeded the cost of the project.
No, I understand, but you on that one you saved something. I forget the numbers off the top of my head. You saved
55.
something like
$55,000.
$900,000 in savings, but at the same time, rather than give that $900,000 and apply it to this budget, you went out and then re-spent that money, all of it, and another $100,000 on top of it, or so
Yeah.
that, or
What I
$10,000 on top of it.
What
sorry.
I wouldn't give to not have to do that. But unfortunately, the project cost, what was included in the project, and that project cost didn't include a lot of things like soil conditions. And that's a lot of the things that we've been having to pay for, roughly about $1 million in soil conditions, not just asbestos, but really wet dirt that they dug up that's unsuitable for using as backfill. So, and to put it in a different location, truck it to a different location, try to dry it out, bring it back. It's more expensive than actually trucking it out and bringing in clean fill. So those are the soil issues are the big expense. And then there's some other things that just were not included in the 80% complete drawings that the initial project cost was based on. So, that remaining 20% or any changes to those original plans that have to be made because of field conditions, that's what those change orders are from. So I wish we had the choice to reallocate any savings from that and put it to this, but it really just has to go to pay for changes.
Yeah, I don't think those were the soil ones. That was the previous change orders. This was other stuff. I don't remember. I could bring that up in the town council. If you just finished the last question.
The cap bank.
Yeah, the cap bank. Can I ask everybody here on this meeting, of the council members, if you plan on passing the cap bank this year?
Eugenia, maybe you can just speak to the pros and cons of.
I don't really want to know the pros and cons. I'm really not interested in the pros and cons. Just if the
Tom, I want to hear from her because I want to hear. I mean, she's my CFO and she's somebody that I look to for advice. So I want to kind of hear from her before I answer that question.
Okay.
The 2% cap bank is passed by all the municipalities, and to have like a little cushion just in case if there is any time that we will be going over the 2%. There's a whole calculation. It's not a straight 2%. It's a whole calculation when we do the 2% for the cap bank. You have a year like this year. We are cutting down a lot of the expenditures. Mayor and council wants to make sure, because of the situation, that they have no tax increase. And a lot of the operating budgets are going to be cut down to a point where it might impact the efficiency of their operation, or basically in some cases take into account that, we're not going to be working for 2-3 months out of the year this year because of the circumstances. Now, next year, we go in and we will try to budget for a full year of operations the way that it should be to run efficiently, like with the summer interns in this case and all of that. Then there will be some instances where you might have to increase the 2% in the calculation, and you want to have a little bit of a cushion. Otherwise, some of the services will be impacted.
Okay, thank you, Eugenia. So with that, Tom, I just think there's too much uncertainty, and as my answer would stand as of today, not having any information, that I would be in favor of passing that. That's my answer.
Okay, Mr. Johnson Caglia, 22 Robbins, for real this time. You're unmuted, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, it's obvious that you've done a lot of work to get this thing down to zero tax dollars on the municipal portion. Can I ask, the first question I have is, how many dollars does it take to lower each dollar of taxes? That's the first question. The second question I have, which is something I raised the last time we had a virtual meeting, and I don't think you were able to give me an answer because I don't think people knew at the time, including your attorney, that I know that it's up to the tax payments have to be made at a certain time, and that's by statute. The question is, can you adjust the interest rate on people who might have to pay them late? Okay, to a more reasonable rate of maybe like 5% or something like that. Another question I have, you mentioned that we're cutting a bus driver. What is the impact of not having that driver? Next question is, in a previous year, I had asked if we had taken a look, I don't know when the last time we went out for RFPs on banking services, as to whether or not we're getting the best bang for the buck in terms of the interest and the fees that they won't charge us and so forth for having so much money on deposit. And I'd like to know what's going on there. And then finally, in reference to some of the questions that were just asked, I don't believe that you can take money that was approved in a bond ordinance and apply it to general revenues. I don't think that's permissible. It's one thing not to spend it. It's another thing to say, oh, we have this money here and we're going to move it over into general operations. I cannot believe that is allowed by state law. I know it's not allowed in school finance. I would bet it's not allowed in municipal finance either. And then finally, it would have helped to have some more detail. I know these documents got put up late, and I understand you're working under the gun. However, some of these things don't have the detail. I know that when you had the last meeting and previous meetings, there's information that you seem to have that doesn't match up what the public has as a document. In other words, you have more detail. And the question is, and again, I don't want to see, what individual, salaries are, although technically we have the right to see them. As to the detail, like, for example, I know I raised some questions about certain items, and some of the comments had to do with, well, there's advertising cost, like this was in the clerk's office, there's advertising costs. That's something I didn't see, okay? All I have is a general number. And my question is it not possible to provide that information so that, citizens can have a chance to more meaningfully scrutinize the budget? And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can answer like the latter three of those if you want. The bus driver, that's the senior citizen bus driver that out of safety reasons, we stopped running the senior bus because that being the most vulnerable when the outbreak hit, that's the most vulnerable population, so they needed to just stay home. So that's that bus driver. RFP on banking services, Eugenia, you can answer that one. Didn't we go out for RFP last year?
No, last year we decided that we were going to go out for RFP, and I think that we were talking about that with council to do it in March of this year. Right now, with everything with a 0%, that the Fed lowered the interest rate to 0%, and everything going on, we're not going to be getting anything good by going out to RFP. We will have to wait until things settle and see what happens. 2-3 months ago, it would have been an ideal situation, but we had a lot going on, me coming on board new and a lot of changes. but right now we will have to wait until see what it is, what's going to happen.
And then in regards to the ordinance, like, yes, an ordinance is passed for a very specific use for that money. So
He is correct.
you can't just take it and use it for something else.
Especially when the ordinance that was passed for the municipal complex was part of the redevelopment. Yes, he is correct about that.
And then, so going back to the first question, how much money does it take to lower each dollar of taxes?
A penny on the dollar is 100 and, okay, hold on a second. Let me go back to the value, the net valuation. Penny on the dollar is worth 183,549.
Okay, tax payments have to be made, but can we adjust the interest rate if residents have to pay them late?
Let me tackle that one. So this topic comes up every day. Some mayor asked this question, and what the governor's office and the state have asked us to do is to just wait for guidance. There is a real concern that some of these municipalities, if there's a general forgiveness of a late fee, that those who can maybe pay won't, and there will be a shortfall in funds for boards of education, and that they won't be able to make payroll, and that teachers will have to be furloughed. So it's, again, a domino effect. So I think they're trying to figure out how to work on the issue and make sure that when that policy comes forward, that those who have a true hardship are afforded that opportunity. It's something that is absolutely on our minds, and we're thinking about it, and we're working with the state and the county to try to figure out, what the best policy would be.
Okay, those are the three people who had questions. Anybody else who hasn't asked anything yet? If you have a question, please put it in the chat box. We can call on you. Bottom of your screen. Nothing yet. Nope. Doesn't look like it.
Okay, once again, I want to thank Jean, Alvaro, Eugenia, Anna, Stephen. I'm going by, Susan, Manny, Liza, and Gentiana for all your hard work the last 2 weeks. It has not been easy, especially in the context of the public health issues that we're dealing with. So thank you all so much for your hard work. And truly it was teamwork. It was, difficult decisions, and what a great team we have. So my gratitude to all of you. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Everyone be safe out there.
Guys.
Safe and be healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.